Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. This match was brilliant. I said earlier this year at Wrestle Kingdom, that match was 5 stars for me. The one at Wrestle Kingdom, easy 5 stars. But they might have topped it. They really might have. The action between the two was crazy. It was insane. There was story throughout. They built it up slowly. Everything made sense. Until the one-winged angel, Will Ospreay, hit and Kenny Omega kicked out at 1-4. That was my big issue with this match. I didn't like that part at all. If Kenny kicked out at 1 and then Will Ospreay sort of hit an Ozcutter, Stormbreaker, 1, 2, 3, I'd been like, okay, maybe there was an adrenaline rush. Maybe you can explain it. But it wasn't like that. They then carried on for another 5 minutes. So I thought a few of the kickouts were overkill. But for the most part, the action in this was truly, truly brilliant. And I do think this is probably one of my favorite matches to take place in AEW so far. Will Ospreay was the right winner. There's no disputing that. I really, really do hope we see a third and final match between them for, to end the trilogy. A lot of people are saying that could happen at All In London, perhaps, and I would not be against that, especially because I'll be there. But I also, to be honest, wouldn't mind it happening in Japan either. These two they work in the ring so, so well together. This was the match which I was the most excited for in the card, and it really, really did deliver for me. Of course, we here at Wrestling Republic, we rated it 5 stars. And just from start to finish, it was a banger. But Clark, I'm going to head to you first. What did you think about this epic encounter between the Cleaner and Will Ospreay?
I loved it. I thought instant classic, basically. I wouldn't go as far as saying the best match I've ever seen, but maybe match of the year, early contender. What more can you ask? Out of the gates, they had the cleanest arm drag, reversal, takeover, drop down, hit the ropes, classic professional wrestling sequence of the night.
Yes.
And then they delivered Cirque du Soleil, circus-esque acrobatics cleanly throughout the match. Both men bladed like an old school 80s brawl. This was nothing short of delightful. This is all you could ask for. Yeah. I didn't need a story to love this pro wrestling match. They told me one with the match. This was an action scene out of a movie, but better choreographed. And they did it in one take. It's ridiculous. You can't even make up what they did and how great it was. You can nitpick at little things. I loved the 1 count. It was classic pro wrestling because we talk about all the time the one-winged angel is the most protected move in wrestling. Nobody kicks out of the one-winged angel. Well, nobody delivers it like Kenny Omega. So you aren't going to get Kenny with his own move. And that woke him up, made him mad. It was like when Ali hit Frazier with a left hook, right? No, that's my punch. Frazier came back with a bigger one, right? That's the way I saw it, and the crowd popped huge for it. So I didn't mind that spot. Yes, if you just look at it strictly on paper, it's a little bit 1 count. Come on, adrenaline rush. Come on, okay. But I loved the story inside of the story there. Just like the no, not my move, and the 1 count kick out. And the crowd ate it up. And to me, that was the ultimate measure because the building, it registered in the building. It's got to register there first before it does on TV. It's always different watching it on TV, as great as it is and as great as the camera work and production is. It's very different in the building, and everybody was on their feet for that spot when he kicked out at 1. So I loved the whole thing, but I want to hear everybody else's thoughts as well. We all watched it together, but.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was, the crowd did go nuts for the one-winged angel spot. They did. And the kick out at 1, they went absolutely nuts for. It was probably the biggest pop of the night. Again, I still personally, if it was just that and then straight away Ozcutter or Stormbreaker, okay, but it wasn't. And that's why I personally had an issue with it. But Coby, you of course rated this 5-star on the Wrestling Republic scale. So what did you think about this instant classic?
I mean, I 100% agree with Clark. It was a no-brainer, but almost the story of that kick out was what happened before. Because if we go back in time and we remember Revolution 2020, that kick out at one happened after they did the Golden Lovers, the Golden Trigger. The Young Bucks hit Omega with the double knee, and that's what happened. So it's almost like it's a Kota Ibushi move. And that's another way you can call it instead of the one winged angel connection. But I 100% agree. It was a magical moment. I mean, we said this last night. This match plays out 100% differently if it's in Japan. And I like the fact that this wasn't in Japan because this was a match that truly did everything to work the crowd. We have Ospreay wiping up a Canada flag between his legs. He's taunting Canada. He's getting the heel heat. And it was the exact opposite. We saw in the first match that Kenny was the one who was dominating. This match was Ospreay getting that revenge and dominating Ospreay in Canada and working on him and doing the damage. And I really like that aspect that Omega got his. But I 100% agree, and I can say I'm second guessing the fact that there were too many near falls. A lot but the thing is there's a logical selling of the kickouts. Because if we're looking at those near falls, we have a rope break after the screwdriver and Stormbreaker. And then we have this one count where Kenny's so fired up. And then there's another kick out at 2, which is the same fired up, where we're not getting that aspect of, okay, well, where is he selling? Because he's kicking out with the same momentum and the same, inspiration with all of the kickouts, except for the rope break. So you can question the selling with that statement. I mean, the other note I have with this match is we talk about Roman Reigns and how he's kind of mastered the idea of less is more. And we see Roman Reigns in the ring, and he doesn't need to do a lot because he tells the story. He works the crowd. Roman Reigns being there has the crowd on fire or electric or invested, however you view it. This match completely avoids that. They avoided the statement of less is more. And I right, wrong, or indifferent for avoiding it. I think there's a lot of stuff in this match that I don't want to say is going to be forgotten about, but it's a match that definitely avoided that unwritten rule of less is more. And it's up to personal preference whether you like it or not that way.
That is a brilliant point, actually. I mean, a lot of people loved it, but then a lot of people hated it too. Ignacio, of course, he was on the show yesterday. He hated this match because of the amount of kick out and all of that. But David, what did you think about Omega versus Ospreay 2?
The first thing I'd like to preface this by saying that I think the match was unbelievably amazing. Of course it was. Like I watched it with my eyes. We on the call last night, we all kind of gave our ratings, and it was 5, 5, 5, and I gave it 4 3/4. I didn't give it 5 stars. I've slept on it. I've thought on it through the day. I've gone back and forth on whether it's a 4 3/4 star match or a 5-star match, in my opinion, over and over and over again, and I still haven't come to a consensus on it. Having said that, that's kind of arbitrary when a match rating, while of course it's great, either way, it's an incredible wrestling match between two incredible wrestlers. I loved all the heel heat stuff with Canada. Some of the moves were brilliant. I did take issue a little bit towards the end with a very similar complaint to Ben's. I really love the 1 count spot, but I think it needs to, the 1 count spot needs to either come early in a match or it needs to come towards the end of the match and lead to the finish. Otherwise, it kind of does undermine it. I mean, my favorite example of the 1 count kick out has always been Walter and Tyler Bate with the kick out of 1 off the power bomb. And the kind of the selling of that sort of, and that I remember was reasonably early. That it kind of at the beginning of the third act. This felt like we'd had a few false finishes, like big false finishes before the point of the one-winged angel. So whether it felt a little bit of overkill, again, it's nitpicking. Again, you've got some nitpicking around the rules with the flag and everything. I know it's referee's discretion, but when you keep using it and keep using it and keep using it as a weapon, after a while, like the ref needs to step in or call it. You don't want to call a match off like that, but it's minor nitpicks. It just kind of, it was a little bit of pacing thing that kind of made me question that 4.75 to 5-star. But again, terrific wrestling match, of course it was. Really, really enjoyed it. What I will say, just on the back of Coby's point about kind of less is more, 100% agree. These two guys have never been less is more wrestlers, ever. Omega nor Ospreay. They're both so intrinsic in that kind of that their style of more is more, particularly Ospreay. He's slowed down a lot in the last few years, but even still. And I think I get, like I said, the difference in styles. I think a comparison to Roman is unfair, but I know what you mean by it. Like as I said, Hulk Hogan is not the same wrestler as Shawn Michaels. They're two. It is just like you said, it's different genres of wrestling, different styles.
Apples and oranges there, yeah,
exactly.
right?
It's apples and oranges, and I think both are brilliant. It's the style of match you're trying to tell, and how you kind of work that into a story. And I think they're all of these guys, Omega, Ospreay, Roman, they all do a fantastic job for the styles that they want to put across. So it's like I said, wonderful wrestling match, like match of the night. Not a match of the year for me. I think that the original Omega and Ospreay from Wrestle Kingdom was better, only slightly. But I do think it's better. But I think it's certainly up there for one of the best matches of the year. Brilliant stuff. The bleeding was horrible. And the Tiger Driver 91, the where they drop Kenny Omega right on top of his head. Oh. I get why they do it. Please, it's really uncomfortable by design, but I don't know how safe that was. But some of the spots were terrific, and it was brutal, it was nasty, and it was really, really great.
It really, really was. You made some phenomenal points there, David. And perhaps, the less is more thing that Coby said, it was another great point as well. But you also touched on it, David, at the start of there. How much we can, discuss these star ratings over and over and over again all day long. But at the end of the day, we all had a lot of fun watching it. And that's probably what matters the most.